Make this happen.
Well, hi everyone. We're live, LinkedIn and YouTube on my channels. I'm sure Kelly will be pairing her channels. And the word of the day is strength. We really rely on your comments to direct us in the most relevant ways and provide you with some quality takeaways that you can actually put to work and justify your time, thought, and effort today. With that, I'm so honored to have Dennis Berry with us. I've got so many questions. Dennis is incredible, especially in the sphere of activity and also interaction. Kelly's here with us, and there's never enough Kelly here. So it's always great to see Kelly. She makes everybody better for her support. So because Dennis is new on the block, but not new to what we're doing here, Dennis, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, little where you came from, where you are, kind of where you're going, and your initial thoughts on strength.
Strength. Well, there's emotional strength, physical strength, all kinds of strength. I love it. It's a great topic. I come from God, 51 years in like 30 seconds. I'll just fire at you. I came from the Northeast in the United States, and I was a skier, ski racer, ski guy, party guy, and then I became a chef because I needed to ski every day. So I did that to finance. So I basically financed my drug and alcohol career while I was skiing and cooking. And then in 2003, I could no longer live that type of life. So I've been sober for 20 years.
Good
And
for you.
that's like the source of my strength. So again, this is, 51 years in 30 seconds. And so I got divorced a few years ago and realized that I don't like the mountains and the snow and cold anymore. So I live in Playa del Carmen in Mexico.
Oh,
And I help people build and scale their businesses without wasting time or money. And well, there you go. That's 30 seconds right there.
Well, I think we can give you another 30. I am impressed with your LinkedIn numbers. It's incredible. You can have posts that get 135 shares, as many shares as comments. How does that work?
Yeah, I know. I have some with a couple thousand shares, some of them. But yeah, I don't know. I think hopefully it's my messaging. I speak from my heart. I don't use AI generated stuff. I write content that connects with people and inspires and motivates people, and it comes from my heart and my struggles and what helped me grow over the years, body, mind, and spirit. And I have, I think, a style that works for me, and everybody, you need to find your own style that works for you. And LinkedIn is just a big part. I use LinkedIn to feed my business, and it's everything, and it's 90% of where I get my business from. And so I use my content to connect with people and build relationships, meaningful relationships, not just like DM messages, but and that's what I do. And I teach other people how to do the exact same thing and build your brand, your voice, your strategy, and your business online.
And how does that apply to be able to leverage live streaming in that regard? What do you see that opportunity?
Well, I guess I'm not sure exactly in what respect you're asking, but it certainly helps. I mean, from LinkedIn point of view, they love when you do things like this. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn rewards you for using LinkedIn tools. So that's a great one. Yeah, and connecting with people in a live atmosphere is always important because they see you're a real person and not just somebody typing comments or contents, and looking them in the eye.
Love that.
Yeah, because me and Kelly spend so much time trying to figure out what we don't know, what we could do better. And, when you see somebody who's actually earned their numbers, I mean, you've got 80,000 connections. How did you get that many? and how relevant are they?
Yeah, it's very relevant. And it's a lot of work. I mean, people don't see that part of it. There's a lot of work that goes into that. I have a team, like I'm Dennis, but there's like a team behind me that support a lot of what I do. But it's a lot of work and effort and everything I said before, like building those relationships. And I do a lot of networking, and I have groups that I host, or I have networking groups, and I connect. I'm a connector. Like I love connecting people and having other people build relationships. And I used to do, before the world shut down, I used to do a lot of live networking events. And when you go to these types of meetings, there's like BNI or big ones or Master Networks. I used to go to Master Networks, and the idea of to networking meetings, it's people have the wrong idea about what networking really is. And when you go to a networking group, maybe there's 10 or 20 or 50 people there, and you may or may not sell your crap to any of those 10 or 20, 50 people or whatever. But the idea of networking is you go to those meetings and then you set up one-on-one meetings outside of the group, and you build relationships, and you get to know these people, because people do business with who they know, like, and trust. So nobody knows, likes, or trusts us yet. So we need to build those foundational relationships, and then you have 10, 20, or 50 people out selling for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like they may or may not need your product or service at that moment, but maybe their brother, uncle, son, roommates, fathers, niece might need that someday, maybe next week or maybe in 10 years. We don't know. But if somebody says, I need a business coach, then you're going to be like, well, you should call Dennis because I know, like, and trust him.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, likes, and trusts the people in the DMs. And I've done stuff like that too, those automated, high volume automated sales efforts. And those don't really work, not to build a foundational business. Now I focus on building foundational businesses. Like most people are focused on, they want to hear, we want to hear good news about our bad habits. We want to work a 4-hour work week because we think that's what everybody else is doing. And you're not going to make 6 figures a month working from home in your underwear for 4 hours a week. That's not what happens. But people like to hear that. Mm-hmm. So the people that run those ads that say, dude, you're going to make 6 figures a month, and my team has developed this system to help you do that. Please don't buy that crap. If they really knew how to do it, they would just do that. And then they wouldn't do that. But here's the thing. Even if you were like those people that do that, let's say you can run, I know all kinds of ways to do marketing. That's what I do. But you can run $100,000 a month in paid ads and make $110,000 or $120,000 a month. But here's what: if you stop running those ads, the phone stops ringing, because there's no foundation, there's no business, there's no relationships, there's no foundational business, which means it can't survive. So what I focus on is setting the right expectations, building trust, providing value, and then building a foundational business.
So how is that scaling?
I'm sorry?
How do you scale that? Just as you want to get larger or more important or relevant?
Well, I do it through referrals. I do it through LinkedIn engagement. I continue to build relationships. So, to continue on my thought there about the networking groups is like, so with that in mind about networking, where you go to this networking group, you meet people and you set up one-on-one meetings to build relationships. And then you have these people out working for you, right? So with that in mind, the best and biggest networking group on the planet is LinkedIn. Yeah. There's 850 million people. And so every morning when you open up your app or whenever you get on LinkedIn, think of it that way. Think of it as like, I'm going to build relationships right now. Not I'm going to get 100 likes or 10. I have some of my posts have 30,000 likes or whatever on there. And, that's fun. That's dopamine. We all like getting those likes on our stuff. But, there's a difference between getting likes and using your influence to make money, to build a foundational business. And there's ways to do that strategically and make that happen. That's what I do.
Perfect. And with that, we'll turn it over to our audience and then to Kelly. I want to recognize Carl, who joined our first collaboration group about 6 weeks ago and is over 400 on his newsletter that he launched a couple weeks ago. Writes a newsletter every day. And, I think, and everybody will agree, consistency wins the day. Repetition makes reputation. And, being known before you're needed is a really important factor. Right? You know yourself better than anybody else. Give them the time and the opportunity and the venue, because first impressions never get repeated. Right? And if you come out of the gate with spaghetti against the wall and everything for everybody versus you being the chooser, that's what I love about having a show is you get to be the inviter. Right? Versus let's have a Zoom call. Right? Which means we'll have a great conversation. We'll love what we're doing, but we'll know we can't do anything together, right? But you can have a conversation in front of people for the same time you were going to have the Zoom, and everybody's under better behavior. So anyways, with that said, Ranadeb's here from India. I have talked to Ranadeb in the past. Always says the same thing, same 2 sentences. Here's the second wonderful to join the session today. Charles flew in from Hong Kong. Now he's in Saskatoon for a couple of weeks. Charles, I don't know if you know Charles Caldwell. Wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Always supporting so many people. Involved with one of the largest English-speaking schools in Hong Kong. Anyways, we'll be opening up January 1 here, and the word will be beginnings. And that was Charles's idea. Actually, giving more credit to Charles, he was the one who suggested the word of the day. So, everybody's put a little piece in this mosaic. And I think that's the beauty of a community over an audience. So thank you, Charles. Khan's here. I don't know if you know Khan. Great guy. He's in our group too. And really, he's doing some unbelievable things on a much larger scale internationally. Getting his second book out. The first book was a major hit. And so proud and honored to be working with Khan and building into 2024. Charles is here, says, so true, LinkedIn decision makers have 22 times the purchasing power than all the other social media audiences. And I think that's so key, is the relevant, and ultimately what we're finding is who wants to do something, right? And that separates people from just being, hanging, learning, sharing, to let's go to work, right? If we've acquired these wonderful, to Dennis's point, relationship skills, and what Dennis is talking about kind of reminds me in my previous career was trade shows, right? You'd map out every hour you're going to be there, and you'd have appointments in different places, and you'd have things prepared for resolution or starting up. And it carries over so well here because everybody's here for the same purpose. Now, how they approach it and what they limit themselves to do. Because this isn't magic. People think you do a lot and something happens. If you're doing the same thing that doesn't work every day, it won't work every day, right? And you get same day results. So you put a post, you see what happened, who happened with, and you make a decision. Is this a trend that I want to continue? So anyways, don't want to get too off into that. Ranadeb comes back with strength is very important for each individual to do the daily activities during the day. Yeah, love to hear what everybody's definition of strength or how they want to take advantage of it. Carrie's here, our joke guy every day. Merry Christmas to you and everyone. Ranadeb says physical strength is crucial for everyday tasks to be completed, including sports and other activities. And strength may include mental strength, which involves resilience and the ability to cope with stress and emotional well-being. And we're going to have Julian Roberts on, I believe, next week, who his whole focus is resilience. Mm-hmm. So Kelly, been waiting patiently. What's going on?
I know. I laughed because yesterday I was like, oh, it's been 10 minutes since I've spoken, the longest time ever. And now it's been 15 minutes. So we're breaking records as the days go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are tuning in from. And yeah, strength, what a great word for so many reasons. I know I say that all the time, but everybody went right away to the emotional strength, which I think is wonderful because that's so much part of everything. And I do say I had a call right before this and it ended. And as I was going to log on here, my freaking power went out. I mean, it's raining and it's storming, but it's like not bad. But thankfully, I had the strength of my patience to sit here and wait while everything reloaded. And I think I just got in with like 2 seconds before we went live. But I made it. So yeah, I'm interested to know what others have to say about strength. And so many things about what Dennis was just saying, of course, resonates with me with my marketing background as well. And I do wish that people would have the strength to stay away from the pitch slap. Those automated emails are just the worst. And I can't say it enough because people, and I've had clients say, well, it does get me some leads, that they can say I've sent out hundreds and then I'll get a couple of leads out of it. And my point is on all of this, though, is how many people are you off-putting that now you've ruined the opportunity because you came out of the gate too hard and too fast. And the best example to use for that is when someone, if you're face to face, when someone comes towards you at you fast, the first thing you do is pull away. Well, that's what you're doing to our inbox when you're doing that immediate pitch slap for a transaction, and not focusing on the relationship. And that is what I think the beauty of live streaming has done, and I can say that from doing it since January, till now, is the relationships that I have gained through people, not just being on this show with me or on my show, but also folks that have watched and connected and have had Zoom calls, and just go off again of what you said, Dennis, and creating meaningful relationships. Not every connection is somebody that you can do business with necessarily, but I know people that I'll be like right away, oh my gosh, I know some people I've got to connect you with because this is what works for you. That's true networking. When you're connecting with people, not only that maybe you can do business with, but that you can also learn from, and they would refer you, you would refer them. That's what it's supposed to do. And then the power of LinkedIn, truly, when utilized, is beyond. You can't just be someone who is posting content for the sake of doing a post. And I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday and many times before, is being authentic to who you are. Your LinkedIn profile is your brand. So don't try to be somebody else, because that's also off-putting. People read right through that and it does not work, and it has the adverse effect. So, and one more thing that Dennis was also saying, is, the $100,000 in ad spend, and you're making money, and keep doing it. But there's also the interesting part, and being a career marketer, there are some people who believe, well, I have a marketer and I want to see an ROI change within 30 days. It's like, let's be realistic on what we want these goals to be, because it needs to be a long-term thing. So here's another little takeaway. The more that you continue to change, and I'm not talking A/B testing and continuing to go with the one that's getting the most views or clicks, that makes sense. But people that change their ad strategy over and over and over and over again, you're confusing the market and your audience, and it's not gonna catch, because all you're doing is confusing it. They won't know that to say, dude, I'm so confused by your brand. It's just something in our subconscious. So there's another little extra takeaway for everyone. And I will toss it back over now.
Well, I think you make some good points, Kelly, in addition to Dennis's points. And when I look at it, it is all about branding.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's about rebranding, but mostly I think it's about projection, right? How are you putting yourself out there? To who? What's the expectation?
Mm-hmm.
What's the result? A lot of people go with their eyes closed because they don't want to see. They don't want to know, because they know already. They know what they're doing is frivolous, superficial, unimportant.
Mm-hmm.
And they also know they're more than that. And they can't seem to make that transition. And that's why collaboration, that's why groups like this, communities, where you can learn a little bit every day from a lot of people before you even got to make a connection with them.
Yeah.
Right.
I do. I want to say, because Christy mentioned, Mercury is in retrograde, and 100%, because it has to deal with usually technology and communication. So kind of funny that my power went off right before I came on. So thanks, sister. And she had the same thing happen earlier. So it's just kind of interesting little side note there too.
Well, I think that's the beauty of live, is it's live, right? You have no control over pretty much everything but what you're doing, whether it's LinkedIn or Restream or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's really key, is being proud of what you're putting out there every day, because at the end of the day, it's value. You can talk, you can write, you can do anything. It's what is the value people are receiving in order to reinvest that hour tomorrow with you in the group.
Yeah.
I think the peer-to-peer element makes so much sense, because if you could do it, they can do it. If we can all do it, we can expand the market. And before swinging it over to Dennis, it's kind of like an arbitrage situation. If you break it down, 1 billion registered people, 180 million that do something, 2% create content, and you can draft it down to 36,000 do newsletters. Well, they take that down to live streaming and take it down to every day, right? Just like a retail store, 24/7. And, at a certain point, goodness attracts what's searching for goodness, right? And through what Dennis said, through your network of people here who are not people, they're influencers. They're thought leaders. They're people who want to learn and share and be with people and do something. And, it's just amazing. So Dennis, you mentioned previous to going live that you had your own live stream and you've been on hundreds of podcasts. So what do you find to be, a little, more relevant and to the times, the formatting, the conversations that take place?
I don't have a live stream. I did have a podcast that I did, which I haven't done in a couple of years, but I did like 150 episodes of that. And now it was great. I learned a lot about podcasting and talking and meeting new people. But I've been on lots of shows. I'm on these shows all the time, and I love it. It's the best way to meet people and push trust and look people in the eye, like I was saying earlier. I don't know. Yeah, it's a great medium to be able to connect with people. I don't think everybody uses these tools enough yet.
Yeah,
I think at some point it'll become more popular, but it's still new. I mean, they really just rolled it out in the last year or so, something like that, right? Like in terms of
wide distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, you had to apply, and sometimes it took months, and there weren't many people doing it. But I think that's really our focus, is just to create an interface between people who want to go live and a platform that's already there with an audience that forms kind of a tailwind. And, Kelly, and I have to mention Christy Howard, spent a lot of time together here, and then ultimately launched the Awesome Journey, which is on Tuesdays, and it's been going great, and it's booked out. And then Harvey Tuck, who just came here about 5 months ago, launched a franchise show 6 weeks ago and is now the #1 franchise event on LinkedIn by leveraging. What's that?
I was on that recently, a couple of weeks ago or something.
You appeared?
Yeah, with Harvey. Yeah.
Okay, great. See, and that's what this small world can be.
Yeah.
Right? Because the more progressive, the more forward thinking, the more teachable want to embrace the new tools. And I guess you could attest, Dennis, that LinkedIn gives you organic reach when they want you to do certain things.
They do, yeah, for sure. Yeah, when you use LinkedIn tools, they reward you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a great way to connect with, the difference between LinkedIn. I mean, a lot of you guys know this stuff, I'm sure, but Facebook, Instagram, everybody, that's a platform where you put up like your burrito from dinner last night. So this is what I'm having for dinner. These are my kids' first day of school, and like all that stuff. And it's like that LinkedIn has a targeted audience, and you can find your target. And when you're doing your stuff and being yourself and providing value and building trust, not everybody's gonna like you.
Right.
But the
That's
right,
okay.
but the right people are gonna love you.
Yeah.
And they're targeted. And the more you connect and communicate with them through mediums like this, or your content, or newsletter, or whatever other outlets you have, then the more likely you are to build, relationships and business, if business comes out of it, cool. But ultimately, I think we're all on there for business. I mean, that's why we're here, really.
Yeah.
It's
And I
not
think
my.
oops, sorry. I was just going to say, I think it's interesting too, is a lot of people who are, Facebook and Instagram heavy, if you will, with their businesses. And I've seen people do this, that they'll take like their Instagram videos or stories and put them on LinkedIn. And it's like, oh, don't do that. Like they don't translate the same.
Not at all. And you know what? It's funny. I've done it the other way because I focus. I have my presence on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Like I have my stuff there, my Twitter and everything, but I don't have time to
Right.
do it. Like, there's no way to have the traffic that I do on LinkedIn requires all my time. So what I've done in the past is like I'll just take my posts, which can go viral here regularly, almost every day. I get thousands of engagements. And if I paste that on Facebook, crickets.
Right.
Sometimes it's like 2 likes or something on it. Well, and some of that is also one. It's the audience. We're not speaking your audience. You have to speak your audience's language. It's like I speak Japanese and you understand Chinese.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it requires the same amount of activity. You have to reciprocate and engage in order to get. It's give to get, give to get. So when you see me get like a couple thousand likes on my post or whatever it is, it's because I've spent time giving. You give, you get. And so when you do, I do that regularly. And I don't have time to do that on Facebook. A lot of people don't understand that part of engaging on social media. You think Facebook works. People think Facebook's dead. Facebook's not dead. There's 3 billion people on Facebook. Yeah. More than half the population use Meta products, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. It's not dead. It's where's your audience and where do you spend your time? They'll all work if you put the time in, you'll get the engagement.
Yeah. And I know people that have strictly used LinkedIn as their base. Specifically, there's a group of guys called the Here Brotherhood that has an app, and it's about mental health support for men. That's incredible. They've got social media presence on other platforms, but they have strictly used, and they just launched in June of this year, and then they've already like blown up. And it is because they just stuck with LinkedIn and doing exactly like consistency, focused. So, I mean, it works, but they knew like, hey, if we want people who are looking for this kind of help, we feel like it's going to be on LinkedIn with the, the billion people that are here. Even if you just get a small percentage, you're killing it. But I think it's just so important because so many people don't understand, like you can't make one post and have it apply to everything the same way, and figuring out what's my lane, where do I want to go, where can I target. In LinkedIn, I don't understand why more businesses, because I'll see people who have, a great Facebook presence and they have great ads, but it's like, but how many of those are really turning into clients other than like, you just have cool stuff? Yeah. And it's like, you need to focus more on LinkedIn. That's where business people are, and they're looking for your product or service. It's kind of mind blowing to me how many people really aren't refocusing their focus, if you will, onto LinkedIn and keep the presence. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're an individual who's doing it, I will say it's a pain in the, to do it because it's so time consuming. I have Facebook and Instagram, and I'm not against them, but they're not really my favorite. It is
different, and it requires time and speaking the right language. So I mean,
yes,
you just have to do your work. It'd be like, where is my targeted demographic? Where's my avatar? And when you discover that, then you have to find out how to communicate with them.
Yep.
And then once you do that, just do more of that and don't confuse them. You said that earlier. It's like, whatever it is you're doing, you have to have the same message. Otherwise, you're going to confuse them. It's like having like green golden arches.
Yes.
Well, first of all, don't go eat at McDonald's. I don't promote that. Yeah. But they're very successful because of their branding. It's a consistent brand. Yeah. The Big Mac tastes the same way in Cleveland as it does in Japan. It's the same stuff. So they know that when you see that golden arches, there's whatever you associate that with, Starbucks, Nike, like they all have consistent brands. We have to do the exact same thing. And and people have these muddled brands all over the place because they'll just start this business somewhere on Facebook, and then later on they'll do something on LinkedIn, but it's completely different. And they didn't go back and fix all of that old stuff. And then people go check you out because that's what people do, because they're looking to build more, to check you out and not get ripped off or do whatever. And then you're confusing them.
Yep.
So like having green or pink or different colored golden arches, it's the same.
So, that's why this is every day, same time, every day. So you don't have to think, I always found, because my background was e-commerce and big marketplaces like Walmart and Amazon, is don't make anybody work, think, or worry any more than they have to, right? So if you take all of those away, you're in a more competitive situation than ones who don't, who are scattered here. And I think the other key element that's so important is dependability, reliability, and long-term performance. Because me and Kelly have seen people that come in blasting out of the gate, and then they run out of gas and they're gone. Or too many people come in entitled in their mind and become users. They use this person, they use that person, they use their background, they use their profile to get like some sort of gravitas that they never earned here. And what I found is when you come here, it's like going to a new land, new language, new customs, and people who have already been here. You've got to be the one that gets accepted. Right? There's too many people don't know they're the ones who are being chosen, not the choosers. And I think it's understanding that. But here's one more thing, and I'll turn it right back to Dennis, is we talk about demographics and billions. If you get 3 or 4 people that you can really lock arms with, you don't need anybody. You'll be more than enough, because it is 3 to get 3 to get 6 to get 10. And LinkedIn allows you to be the magnet and to have a pull strategy instead of a push strategy, where you're doing your stuff, people recognize it, give them enough credit to know what they're looking for, and when they see it, to appreciate it, will, for their own best interest, serve your best interest. But you've got to give them that up front. But let me just catch a thought.
Let's hit the audience a little bit.
Let's get Christy in here. Strength, yes, patience, especially during Mercury and retrograde, our strength and mind and believing in yourself. So true. Charles comes back with also true about creating content. With over 1 billion users, still only 1% of users post original content once a week or more. If you want to be part of the 1%, here's your chance for sure. And Charles comes back with, I'm with you 100% on this email issue. The bot mails drive me mad. I've done posts on it and shamed some of them. It's always going to be the easy and the kind of sleazy that they get most of the attention, but they're never here 6 months from now. You know, they're a flash in the pan, and even they're not having a good time because they know what they're doing. Strength, Renat Deb says, is also seen and reflected in organizations by doing ethical decision making, for sure. Then comes back, strength in relationships is also very much important.
Amen.
And Tom follows it up with people will respond to your intention and purpose. Whether you're serving yourself or others, they will inevitably know. And over time, they will see what they see. And showing is so much better than telling. So, Dennis, a question I have for you. How do you stay out of trouble on LinkedIn when you do significant things?
What do you mean? In what way?
Well, I'm seeing people get restricted and suspended, and
yeah.
Well, actually, there seems to be an increase. Like I know quite a few people who have been booted off, and quite honestly, and they can never find an answer of why. And even me knowing their content, I'm like, what the heck did you post that pissed them off? I mean, it seems so random. And then, I do also know some people who had huge followings who, after they got kicked off, refused to come back because it impacted their business and they never got an answer of why they got kicked off. So I guess kind of, to reiterate or restate maybe Don's question is, do you have any kind of, I guess, best practices or any knowledge of what is involved for staying out of LinkedIn jail?
Yeah, I don't. I've been in LinkedIn jail a couple of years ago, and I think what happened when I was doing that was I was sending out. It was before my growth went exponentially higher, and I only had a couple thousand followers at the time, and I think I was sending out too many connection requests, which you can only do 100 a week. Mm-hmm. And so then they put me in jail, and there's no explanation. You can't contact them. You can't log in. You're at their disposal. But what I figured out is that it's all automated. So if you trigger the system, then it just shuts you down. And then you have to wait 6 or 7 days until they get to because there's a million of them. Yep. And then they look at each one with a live person. And eventually they get to yours, they see that you're not a bot, which is what they're trying to do. So, their intentions are good, but it does hurt people in terms of I think at some point, hopefully there'll be some sort of better, less abrasive system in place to make sure that they're not bots. But ultimately, they don't like automated stuff. So I don't use anything automated. It's just me. I have a team that helps me do some things, but none of it's automated. We reach out to people too, but I build authentic connections. Mm-hmm. And so we get 100 connection requests, which can actually go up if you have a higher SSI score, but I would just stick on the 100, which is about 13 a day, and that gets you to 91. So don't go over that. Yeah. And then they won't think, and especially if they're not getting accepted. Like now that I have more influence, mine generally get accepted. Like if I send somebody a connection request, they're usually like, oh, and they accept it. But if you're new, you have 500 connections and you're sending out 100 connection requests to random people that you don't have any connection with, then they look at that as like you're just spamming or even automated. And that's one way. That's most of the ways that I've seen people get booted off or go into LinkedIn jail was because they had automated processes. So I would just stay away from anything automated. I know there's AI and there's ones that control their automation, so they look good, but you're playing with fire.
Yeah.
What do you say to engagement pods?
Well, LinkedIn doesn't actually frown on that as much as everybody says. But again, make sure that your people you're engaging with are good people that aren't leaving things like great, nice. Those are also considered spam or even bots because there's automation products that will spit those things out. You can actually program them to hit like any post that has 5,000 impressions and 100 likes. It'll automatically shoot comments out like great or nice or this or that. And but they're out there, and I've been in groups, I've been part of groups, I've been ahead of groups, and all those things. And but make sure you're building meaningful relationships along the way, providing value and supporting each other, like reciprocating that support with meaning and friendship. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Like the three of us supporting each other.
Yeah.
That's great. We know each other. So we know, like, and trust each other. So I feel comfortable supporting you when you post now. So that now we're in a pod.
Right.
But be careful who you're in your pods with.
Yes.
Yeah. So in other words, you have to really curate it, and say, hey, because it is select and it is personalized, why not just keep the 6 or 7 that you'll work with every day, see all the time, and really do support their stuff. Really are excited when they get ahead, when they reach success, because it puts it out for everybody, right? Everybody can make it. Everybody can make it. And then
they just don't like the automated stuff. I mean, just keep it like the way the algorithm really works is that when they see that you have a post that people are engaging with, they go everything's automated on their end. So they say, wow, there's these quality accounts that are engaging on these posts. This must be a high quality content. Let's shoot it out to more people. So that's what a pod does. So when you have high quality people in a pod, so be careful who you're in your groups with. Yeah. When you have high quality people supporting each other because like, and trust each other, then that's great. And LinkedIn likes that, because what we're doing is we're keeping people on LinkedIn.
That's right. That's all they care about.
That's all they care about. Every social media network, they want you to keep, your job as a creator is to keep people on the social media network. Now, our job as a business is to offboard them to our website, but our job on social media is to keep people on their social media network, and they reward you by sending it out to more people. Yeah. That's how the algorithm works.
Yeah. And which is why it's important too, when you comment on someone, tag them, so they encourage you to keep the conversation going, because again, the more time that you spend on, and then I'm just going to go off to what Christy said. She's like, maybe we should go back to saying our lives are unfiltered so we don't get booted. And yes, we probably should say that more often, because sometimes we do have guests that we talk about some pretty intense and serious topics, and some of them are not worthy of just saying gosh darn it on an occasion. But to go to your whole pod thing, I 100% agree. Don and I have talked about this quite a bit, actually. I will support people because I believe in them, not because I feel obligated in any way. Like, I think, and we've seen some pods that's it. Like, in order to be part of this, you have to do X, Y, Z on the regular. And I'm like, I'm not going to be forced to support something or comment on something that maybe doesn't align with me. Doesn't mean I don't like it, but maybe it's just not something that I want to be aligned with. But be intentional about who you comment with and what it is, because that will relate back to you. Because a lot of people do go to your profile and look, like, what do you comment on? What have you liked? They want to see what kind of activity you have. So make it, I will say, match your brand. It doesn't mean you can't go outside of your brand on an occasion. Just because I sell t-shirts and somebody else is selling ironing boards, random comparison, doesn't mean I can't like them. But I just do think you need to be intentional about all of your content. And I totally agree with what you said on that, is paying attention and be meaningful of who you allow and who you want to support. And that's another way also to gain followers, is when people, and I do this all the time, when I see a name that continues to come up on posts that I comment on, I'll go and I'll send them a connection request. Hey, I've seen you commenting on such and such's content. Love your comments. Would love to connect. People like to connect with people because of that, over just sending, hey, I see you in your network and I think that I can help you do XYZ with your business. And I particularly love it when they do it to my Awesome Journey page, because they'll do Dear Awesome. like, I see that you could probably use some, and it's like, it's a podcast or it's a live stream. It's not a true business, but thank you for telling me that you think you can solve my problems that you don't even know I have. Which is a whole another episode that we could all go in with the pitch slap, because I do post on this regularly, because it is one of my biggest pet peeves that I just want people to be like, just stop it, like really stop it. It's ineffective. Try something different. Why don't you try a live stream for lead gen? Because people then can see you, see your purpose and your why of what you're looking for, and then get to know the person, like know what I need. I do also find it irritating when I get somebody send me, all the solutions that they can offer me, but it's like, but you don't even know where my business is at to know what I need. So how can you give me all the solutions? And my feeling is, if you can do all these things or decide all these things via osmosis, you need to get out of sales and just go buy a lottery ticket. Like,
well, I think that, what comes to mind is clarity, right? Yeah. When you start associating with people just for what they can bring to a like or comment, you're really bringing distortion, right? Because you're bringing people who, if there wasn't a self-interest, wouldn't be doing it for your interest. And it's somebody that you really don't want to comment on your stuff, right? If you're an artist, there'd be certain critics you would say, I don't want them in here. Right? Because I know who they are, what they are, and I know what their intention is. Not that you don't want to weigh it too much in your favor, but why not be exclusive? If you start out one of a billion, you have to be somewhat exclusive, right? So why not start from 1 to 3 to 5 instead of a billion down to 5, right? Why fish in this big ocean when they're jumping in the boat where you are? But you're looking for grand, you're looking for quantity, you're looking for speed instead of reliability. And the other thing is having fun. Enjoy the ride. If you don't like people, if you don't like, you're not curious, if you don't have questions when you hear more answers, it's probably not a good place for you, or you're going to be at a disadvantage. And maybe your focus should be whatever it is your focus should be. And then to Dennis's point, bring a team in who is good at what you're not and allows you to focus on core competency. So I've actually seen my desire to limit the audience as opposed to expand it, because I think there is a distinction, because the studio audience will be smaller in relationship to the future unknown audience, right? And the current audience is here to create and support the show and motivate the conversation. And how many of those people do you need every day? 7 or 8? 40 new people came in on a bus, and all it was, hey, Jim, hi, Joe, what's going on? And it's all this sideshow stuff to see and be seen. Well, it's static. It's dissonance. It's like unnecessary, and the people are here for purpose and intention, and that's the group you can be proud of. I've got 37,000 connections, but I'll tell you one thing: it's only the people I'm working with or talking with that have any value. The other ones are on the sidelines. Maybe they disappeared. 60% of my connections are outside the U.S. That tells you something. So I think everything tells you something if you're listening. But you're also getting to talk to people who are getting told things that you'll never hear. And if 7 people every week or every day get together with a little tip, a little question, times 7, times this, times that's significant. Here's another one from Charles. Another caution: many people use virtual assistants to help promote their accounts and VPNs to circumvent again. This is a big no. I mean,
amen.
One thing we can all agree: you got LinkedIn, and then you got Microsoft behind them. Everything we do is a keystroke a few times a day, right? It's easy to track. It's easy to see everything, every relationship in milliseconds. So you're not going to get nothing over on them. Me and we were talking yesterday. is you can get restricted or suspended or whatever they want to do to you. But there's also ghost restricting,
Shadow banning.
shadow banning, right? That you're putting your stuff out there and it's out there, but no one sees it because it's not being released to anybody. You know, I know people who are getting 400 likes, 32 comments, and the 32 comments are the same people every day in the group. And they can't figure out that this is going nowhere. But they only look at the gross or the top line number and don't drill down to understand what are we doing this for and what I see. And it is a business. I think Dennis made that great point. It's time efficiency.
Yeah.
Right? It's redirecting your time to get the most relevant audience, to be the most open to hearing what you have to say, and you get to target that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on Tuesdays, like I point out, Beverly, she's women over 55 for empowerment. That's her whole thing. Well, that's the show, right? That's the name of the show, and that's why anybody into that will be like, hey, that's exactly where I want to be. Or Harvey, the franchise show, right? If you're in the franchise and someone's doing it, pretty soon you're the place, whether you're the person or not. You know, you just have to be the facilitator and the promoter and the supporter. So there's so much nuance. And what I would say is buy some vowels before you try to solve the puzzle.
That's really true. And, you know, everything you said is that, like, I write viral content. You know, the content I write, it's kind of strategic and it's meant to go viral. And like the videos I use, like everything I do, but it's not for everybody. You don't need to do what I do to generate business. You can have 1,500 followers and get business. Like there's different ways to do business. So what you need to do is write a business plan, establish your goals, and then take action in alignment with what your goals are. Yeah. So what works for me, or for Kelly, or for Don, or whatever, it's not a one size fits all. So you need to have what's your business model, what's your product or service, how much do you need to sell to reach your goals, and what plan aligns with that. Yeah. So right now, this is working for me. It might not, maybe one day it won't. But I have influence, and I'm on this journey. I'm on my journey, and you're on your journey. We're all on a different path. There's no right or wrong as long as you're not hurting anyone. You're being honest, ethical, and genuine and authentic. Then keep doing that, and you're making money. If your efforts aren't working, do something else. Do something different. You know, change your trajectory. But just make sure that, you know, if you try to do what I'm doing, it might not work. You know, I don't know what your products and services are, and don't compare to me because you don't know what we're doing different things.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to say that, like, there's nothing wrong with. You don't need to have viral content. You don't need to have 1,000 likes in order to generate income. Right. You just need to have your business set up properly, and a good brand that's aligned with what your product or service is. So it's important to remember that. Don't compare. Just make sure that what you're doing works. And if it doesn't, do something else or change direction or ask for help.
Yeah. Yes. Ding, ding, ding on the last part. 100%. Because I can say a client that I worked with last year specifically, and I still see it happening. Their thing is they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And I always said, you know, you're just putting different lipstick on the same pig, like, and then you're expecting a different outcome, and it's not going to happen. And then watching them this year and how they continue to do the same thing and are still frustrated. I don't work with them anymore. And that was one of the reasons why. It's like, well, what'd you hire me to do your marketing for? If you just want to tell me what you want me to do, you're not letting me be part of the strategy of what you need to do. You don't need me. Like, you need a secretary. And no offense to that, but you just need someone to do it. And that's not what I want to do. I actually want to help with the strategy and help you be successful. But you're totally right. And I think a lot of people, it's great to see other people's profiles or activity and what they're doing and be like, man, I really like that. I want to start doing something like that. But you need to make it be about you, because your why is different than my why. And people can tell that. So you still need to make it into your own brand, if you will. And I think a key component is exactly what you said, is ask for help. I think people think I can just go get a YouTube video, I can find this, I can just see what I like and copy it, or tweak it a little bit to make it more mine. Ask for help. There are people that are happy to give you probably a lot more than you think at no charge. If you have a true connection with someone, like, hey, I'm starting this strategy. Would you mind if we just had a conversation? I want to run it by you. If you have a relationship with that person, I guarantee you they're likely going to be, sure, let's hop on a call. The resources that are available with your true connections, not just the numbers, man, that's gold. And I utilize it. That's what we do all the time. As I have no problem reaching out to people, and I'll tell certain people, hey, if you need help with this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because that's what it's supposed to be, is relationship. I'm not saying everybody will give you everything free, because there's also those people that try to get as much from you for free and then just push the envelope. And it's like, no, if you want to go this far, now I'm going to have to charge you. But don't miss out on those golden nuggets with your relationships. Like, that just seems like such a waste for being here. There's so much to gain. And I don't think that any of us really are utilizing it to its fullest.
No, we ask for help. I think that's important. We didn't know. I don't know what everybody's age is, but we didn't always have Google Maps and Waze.
That's right.
We stop and ask for directions, and the stereotype was that men don't stop and ask for directions.
Yes.
We always stopped and asked for directions. I would rather get there in 5 minutes than drive around for 2 hours to figure out where I'm going. It's the same thing with business. It's like,
yes,
it's changing so fast, and even what you might be the most educated expert on the planet. Tomorrow, it's different.
That's right.
And it's important to, be in groups, stay educated, watch these shows, and hire an expert.
Yeah.
If you think it's expensive to hire an expert, wait till you hire an amateur.
Yes. And I see that all the time, as far as like, if and even with job seekers, because I know too many people that have been laid off and have been out of work for a very long time. And I think with organizations, I'm like, and I have seen a little bit of more articles about this now, that they are starting to hire older people, because my feeling is like, why wouldn't you want to pay more money for the experience who's already done it, that they can come in and make it happen so much quicker than if you have a newbie? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's how you learn. But the curve that it's going to take for how long it's going to take that new person to get to the end goal it's just a longer period of time than it is with the expert. So the spending more money up front may seem like, ooh, that's a little painful. But exactly like you said, but how much longer is it going to take you with someone maybe that has 1/3 of the salary or the cost, but it's going to take them probably 5 to 10 times longer to really hone in and execute for it to be a repeatable, measurable item. That's just my little sidebar soapbox on that.
I think it's actually even more important on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a saying, cheap labor is the most expensive thing a business can have. It is, it's worth a little money for a lot of time and trouble.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're 100% experienced in what you're doing, maybe you can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or if you got all the time in the world and don't care about where you're going or as fast as you're going there, well, it's not going to be that much of a priority. But would you hire a cheap doctor or a cheap dentist or a cheap lawyer if that was the only thing? Cheapest lawyer in town, cheapest dentist in town? No, you would say, I don't care what it costs. It's my health, right? It's my teeth. So when you go to LinkedIn, and all agree this is a business platform. This is people's future.
Yeah.
This is a career. This is an opportunity. This is a relationship. I know in my life, I've met 1 or 2 people that changed my life forever because of coming into a relationship with them. So why wouldn't that hold true here? And people are available. And because, like Kelly says, people are looking for samples. all the time when someone steps up to the plate and says, listen, I don't want a sample. I want the whole meal, and I want it the way I want it. And I want it with someone who I want to be with, right? It's the journey. If we're in a social network, it's the social side. You got to say, who brings me up every time I spend time with them? Who is most thought-provoking? Who gets my juices moving? Well, what kind of price do you put on those intangibles that really make a difference? I mean, how many times you can't wait to see that person again, to continue what you just left off with? And if you can live your life and scale your life with just the most wonderful people, and you get to do stuff with them that no one else is doing. You know, we're living for free on the LinkedIn platform. You know, I mean, just really quickly, I know we're over time. I relate to old school where you used to send postcards out, right? You buy labels, you get a postcard, you get a stamp, you create a message, you'd have someone deliver it. It was a one-time deal. You hope it got to the place and didn't go into the garbage before. Well, LinkedIn gives you a list of 1 billion people that's registered, free list. You could use it over and over again, any which way. They give you a distribution of your message. You don't need to stamp, right? And the message is whatever you have to say when you want to say it. You know, if you did a message on a postcard, it had to be like a 6 weeks in advance sale because it would take that long to get there and get some response, and it was a mess. And people still use it. But when somebody says this is like available, it's, you know, it's so available and accessible, people don't know what they're looking at. They can't see the forest from the trees. So the ones who can get out front, prove it to themselves, and then help other people get there, and then continue to elevate. Like we came up with a word the other day, co-elevate. That's what I think people should be doing on this network. So final words, Dennis. I know we're a little bit over. I want to thank the audience.
And Charles. Oh.
Yeah, Charles is saying, sending love to Kelly. And Charles is in our continent now, so we're even closer to him. Anyway, Dennis, I want to thank you so much for being here. I think your knowledge and experience were invaluable for so many of us because we are on this trail. And, you know, if someone could shine a light on a path we're not aware of, or give us some more validation for things we believe in, you know, that's all for the good. Kelly, final thoughts? I know you always have a closing.
Yes, of course I do. And so fun, Dennis. And I do have to say, I love your glasses. You have great taste, my friend. Just saying. Like mine.
I have other ones that are just like it, only they're blue.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Oh, I love those too. Those are nice. Yeah, so total sidetrack there. Couldn't help myself. Yeah, so everyone, thank you for joining us today. Super fun conversation. Dennis, I know you and I could probably talk for hours, quite frankly. And so grateful to connect with you, and to everyone else. Merry Christmas. I will be back on Christmas Day with Dawn. And those of you who won't be here or traveling or doing any of those things, wishing you safe travels and a Merry Christmas with you and your families. And as I always end, do go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine too.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, audience. This makes it so important every day for me to do this, because it's like all of a sudden someone knocks on the door and 7 people show up with coffee and cake and sit around for an hour and then clean up after themselves and come back the next day and do it again. So can't beat it. Thank you again. Come back in 23.